Hello everybody and welcome to the premiere edition of Pure Liberal Fire. My name is Kyrell Zantanovich. Today is October 7th, 2010. I'd like to start off by discussing the Tea Party movement. It's maybe the biggest movement to come along in 10 or 20 or 40 years, who knows. It's very significant in its own way, and it's a reaction against the horror of the Republicans and the Democrats, especially George Bush and Barack Obama. But what is it in general? I would certainly say that it's a general, overall, leaderless, grassroots libertarian group. It's a libertarian movement. It's pro-freedom. It's pro-American. It's pro-Western liberal. It's even pro-liberal, which is what I advocate. I advocate liberalism, or else pure liberalism, not just in politics, but also in ethics and philosophy and culture, in everything. The Tea Party movement is more or less a liberal movement in every sense, but it focuses on politics. I would describe it as being inchoate and incoherent and chaotic, but in general it's good and we should support it. I think that in general it's moving towards small government, which is what we want, and it's moving toward big individual liberty, which is what we want. It's moving toward freedom. I think that all these guys, which take many permutations, they have many different groups, and sometimes they're contradictory, but they have one sort of general theme overall, which is libertarianism. I think that these guys are terrified of all these bailouts. They're terrified of all these economic stimuluses recently under Bush and Obama, and they're terrified of Obamacare, this new medical program. And they're right to have all of these fears, to have all of this hatred, all of this antipathy towards Big Brother. I think that what's good about these guys is they hate George Bush almost as much as they hate Obama. Basically, Bush and Obama, as far as I'm concerned, are the Hoover and Roosevelt of the 21st century. They're basically repeating the nightmare of that which led to the Great Depression, and Bush and Obama could still lead to a depression themselves. They're certainly god-awful people who know nothing about politics, and they really and truly know nothing about politics, government, and the law. The Republicans and the Democrats in general know nothing about political science. They think they do, but they know virtually nothing, or even less than nothing, because the knowledge they possess, which is actually real, is outweighed by the knowledge which they think they possess, which is actually false. So if you describe them as knowing zero, that's actually a kind of a kindness. I think it's interesting to note that before Bush and Obama came along, we had Bill Clinton, and he actually cut the size of the government percentage-wise. I think it was the federal government went from like 21% to about 19%. So that's to his credit, and he also left a giant surplus. So Bill Clinton was a more libertarian guy than George Bush or else Barack Obama. I think it's worth noting that the people that criticize the Tea Party movement, these people, they refer to the Tea Partiers. They sometimes use the obscene term tea baggers. They refer to the Tea Partiers as radicals and extremists, but this is a cheap smear. I think that if you look at it at all fairly, you have to describe the Tea Party people as moderates as well as people that advocate common sense. It's not at all the case that the Tea Partiers somehow favor millionaires. They don't favor big business. They don't favor Wall Street. They don't favor fat cats. That's absurd, and it's outrageous. And I guess the worst thing of all is that people use the most derogatory term they can come up with, which is they call them racist. Well, I mean, in general, the white people are much more libertarian than Hispanics and blacks, and the Tea Partiers are much more libertarian than anyone else in America, but that doesn't make them racist. So that's just a cheap, dreadful smear, and it's worth noting that the people that oppose him are themselves advocates of affirmative action for blacks and Hispanics and women, and that is itself racism and sexism and bigotry. I think part of the most wonderful thing, at least to me, is the presence of this Gadsden flag, that yellow flag which says "Don't tread on me," and it has a sort of beautiful snake which is ready to bite people, and and the snake needs to bite everyone who is in favor of big government or else Big Brother. I don't have too much hope for the Tea Party movement. I don't even have too much hope for the Libertarian Party movement, but you have to support the Tea Partiers pretty strongly. You have to support the Libertarians very strongly. Ultimately, what we need is something called a pure liberal movement, a movement which favors zero taxation and zero regulation of social behavior, economic behavior, and political behavior. But it's going to take a while before we can get to that. So all I can say is let's support Ron Paul from Texas, Rand Paul from Kentucky if he wins, Sarah Palin, Newt Gingrich, Glenn Beck, even though he's very religious recently, Rush Limbaugh, who I personally despise. Let's support them all, and especially let's support the libertarian movement and the Libertarian Party. But above all else, let's support pure liberalism. Let's support, to the extent that we can, laissez-faire capitalism in economics and volunteerist libertarianism in politics. That's the final answer. That's the definitive answer. The complete right to think, say, and do anything you wish, provided you respect the equal and concomitant rights of your fellow man. To think, say, and do anything that he wishes. None of these rights conflict or compete, and all of them coincide, supplement, complement, and reinforce. And that's basically it. So let's go Tea Party. Let's all support the Tea Party to the extent that we can.